Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you've had a good day. We're still on hiatus with our Curse of Strahd campaign, so I figured I might as well do another solo session today. Continue on with Simon's story, see where it leads us to. Um, the music is copyright-free D&D music from Alexander Nakarada, Creator Chords. But I do not own the copyright, and it should be copyright free, so we won't get pinged for that. Um, Next is to read the summary of episode 8 before we start episode 9. So here we go.
Here it is, verbatim, every symbol, every mark, every drop of spicy flavor intact. Absolutely. Here's the official recap for Blades for Hire, episode 8, the Patron Shadow. Summary. After escaping the burning Blades safe house, Simon and Dern began unraveling the deeper conspiracy behind Roderick Vex and his mysterious master, the Patron. What they found instead was the first real glimpse of the entity pulling the strings. Malvor. Act 1. The Aftermath of Fire. The episode opened with Simon and Dern climbing from the tunnels beneath Varenhold into a cold, foggy dawn. The chained creature they had bargained with appeared briefly in the mist, revealing that Vex's patron was no mere noble or spymaster, but an ancient consciousness bound to gold itself. It warned Simon that the coins he'd taken were more than treasure. They were eyes through which Malvor saw the world. Realizing the danger, Simon buried the coins in the forest and used his eldritch will to sever their connection. His Arcana check, 27, burned through the tether, successfully destroying the coins and silencing Malvor's watchful gaze. But the act did not go unnoticed. Act 2. The Covert Return. Simon and Dern returned to the city to find black smoke rising from the Blades district. The safe house had been burned to the ground, the ruins. They found the body of their handler, Hep Mara, barely alive long enough to warn Simon. They weren't after us. They were after what we kept. Before she died, she confirmed that Vex's men and masked agents of the Patron had come at dawn to claim the coffer of Malvor. Moments later, Simon glimpsed Vex himself watching from the rooftops. Simon sent Dern to pursue him while he carried the cursed coffer to Varen, the Blade's apothecary ally in Redwater Alley. There, Simon confessed everything: the chained creature, hashed the coins, and the name Malvor. Varen identified the coffer as a living ledger of debts, not a container of wealth, but a divine register that devours promises and payments alike. Simon chose to leave the coffer in Varen's care so it could be buried under running water, hidden from the patron's reach. Act 3. The Dead and the Debt. Dern returned wounded, reporting that Vex had escaped into the canals. The two made their way to the waterfront only to find the watch pulling Vex's body from the water. Eyes burned out, chest marked with Malvor's sigil. The patron had collected his due. The watchman took the corpse to the archivum, the courthouse vault where cursed evidence and relics are kept. Simon bribed a clerk to leave a door unbarred, and that night he and Dern infiltrated the subterranean vault to learn what the patron's servants were doing with the body. Inside, Simon spied the High Arbiter, a city judge secretly branded with Malvor's mark, overseeing Vex's corpse. He ordered his men to summon the Collector and spoke Simon's name aloud as the next debtor. The Arbiter departed, taking the body deeper into the vault. Act 4, The Legend the Collector. In the deeper chambers, Simon and Dern discovered the truth. The court maintained a cathedral of ledgers, an immense mechanical machine that magically recorded the names and debts of all who had served the patron. The quills wrote in molten gold. Every name shimmered between life and servitude. Among them, Simon found his own entry. Simon, blade contractor, pending collection. Before they could act, the collector arrived, a masked, featureless figure carrying an abacus of bone and pearl, the patron's instrument of reclamation. Simon struck first, tearing the molten gold basin free and shattering the ledger's machinery. The machine screamed, hundreds of voices crying out as names burst into flame. His athletics check, 25, ripped the device apart, but his arcana failed to sever its magic cleanly, and the ledger began hemorrhaging names into the air. The collector manifested physically, and a brutal fight ensued. Simon slashed through brass and parchment, finally severing the reel that held his name. The magical tether snapped, freeing him but causing the ledger to erupt in chaos. The collector collapsed into molten gold, vanishing while uttering the words, "The patron will remember." As the vault collapsed, Simon grabbed what evidence he could, the reel bearing his name, the black wax pages, and a fragment of the court's sigil, and fled with Dern into the streets above. Nashad. Epilogue. The transferred debt outside. The two blades caught their breath under a crimson dusk sky. When Simon examined the reel, his name had vanished. In its place, a single phrase was carved in fresh letters. Transferee Varen. The debt had been moved. The patron hadn't claimed Simon, he'd simply transferred the obligation to someone else. Simon vowed to find Varen before the collector did. Closing tagline, Simon broke the chain that bound his name, but every debt must be paid. The next one will come in blood. Next episode, episode 9, The Collector's Debt, beginning with the realization that Varen's life, and perhaps his soul, has been marked for collection.
Okay, let's start up episode 9.
Settle in, Deaky. The lights are low, the air is cold, and Malvor's shadow is already seated at the table, even though you haven't walked into the room yet. Here comes Blades for Hire, Episode 9, The Collector's Debt, opening scene. I'll keep the tone grimy, tense, paranoid, and just a little supernatural, the way this story likes to crawl under the ribs. Opening shot, Varenhold at dusk. The city looks like someone painted it in dried blood and soot. Smoke from the burned Blades safe house still drifts across the skyline, mixing with the fog from the canals until you're not sure if you're breathing water or ash. Simon and Dern stand in the narrow alley behind Redwater, panting from the run, the broken reel cradled in Simon's hand. The carved inscription still glows faintly. Transferee Varen. Dern wipes the sweat from his brow, staring at it. That ain't good, boss. Understatement of the year. A soft metallic ding, ding, echoes from somewhere in the alley, like someone tapping an abacus bead, exactly once per heartbeat. The sound stops. The two exchange a look. Dern grips his blade harder, knuckles popping. You know that feeling when the world gets quiet for no good reason? That's what happens. Even the rats bail. Where Simon's head should be right now. He knows 3 things. 1, Varen is marked for death, soul collection, or whatever the hell Malvor considers payment. 2, the collector was destroyed, but Malvor still has agents. 3, Varen was last seen in his apothecary shop in Redwater Alley, which is exactly where the marking may have taken effect. Simon doesn't have long. Debts don't sit on shelves. Scene start. Simon stands outside Varen's shop. Night is rising fast, swallowing the light like a mouth. The apothecary's door is slightly open. A faint copper smell seeps out. Not blood, something older, like the smell of coins rubbed between fingers for too long. A lantern burned down to a dying ember swings slowly inside, casting sick little arcs of gold light across the shelves. The silence is thick. You're at the threshold, Simon's hand on the doorframe. Dern behind him, breathing steady, blades ready. This is where episode 9 begins. Tell me what Simon does next.
Simon will open the door to the apothecary.
The hinges complain like they resent being touched. The door swings inward. Inside Varen's apothecary. The lantern's ember gives off just enough light to make the shadows feel alive. Shelves of dried herbs, tinctures, powders, and weird jars tilt inward like they're eavesdropping. Glass crunches under Simon's boot. A vial shattered on the floor. The smell hits next. Not rot, not blood, Metal, ancient, minted metal scent, like a vault cracked open after centuries. The faintest gold dust hangs in the air, drifting lazily as though gravity forgot its job. Dern whispers, voice small for a man his size. Boss, this ain't right, Varen? No answer, but there's sound now. A rhythmic tick, tick, tick. Deep in the shop, not a clock, more precise, like an abacus bead sliding down its rod. Simon's eyes adjust. Near the counter, Varen's notebook lies open, pages ruffling in a breeze that doesn't exist. A single gold bead, the size of a pea, rolls slowly across the counter surface, leaving a scorch mark wherever it touches. And behind the counter, something is moving. A silhouette, hunched, breathing ragged, arms trembling as if holding something heavy. It whispers, voice scraping like coins grinding together. Simon, that you? It's Varen. But he doesn't turn around, and his shadow isn't matching his shape. Simon has line of sight, but not clarity yet. The gold haze and that lantern ember keep things half seen, half imagined. Dern leans in. Say the word, boss. The air feels like it's waiting for Simon's next choice.
Simon says, turn around and face me. And I have to go to the little boy's room. I'll be right back.
Varen freezes. The ticking stops. The gold dust in the air seems to hang motionless, like even physics wants to see what happens next. Slowly, too slowly, Varen straightens his spine. You hear bones crack. Not the normal kind. This is the sound of forced movement, like something is helping him rise, turning him into a puppet that doesn't fit its strings anymore. He turns, and your stomach drops. Varen's face, half of it is still him. Your jittery, overworked, soft spoken apothecary friend. Eyes wide with fear, sweat dripping. The other half? Gold. Not metal plating. Not a mask. His skin itself has turned to hammered gold leaf, cracked like ancient coinage. One eye is normal, the other glows with molten light, swirling like someone poured a candle flame into a socket. His jaw trembles as he tries to speak. Simon, I tried to run. I tried to hide it. But I think, I think it found me. He raises his left hand. Or rather, what used to be his hand. Every vein has become a thin gold filament. The fingers are rigid, clicking faintly as they move, each movement sounding like beads sliding into place. Dern sucks air between his teeth. Shit, man. Varen takes a step forward, shaking violently. Did you did you give it to me? The debt? Is that what happened? He isn't accusing. He's pleading and terrified. His golden eye flickers. He clutches his chest. A faint brand pulses there, under his skin. Malvor's sigil, a perfect circular coin mark, burning brighter each second. Simon, I don't want to be collected. Something shifts behind Varen's shadow, like a tall, thin shape stretching upward. Waiting. This is spiraling quickly. Any move Simon makes now will change how this entire episode plays out.
Simon will draw his scimitars and attack the fin shape behind Varen.
The moment Simon draws steel, the whole apothecary seems to flinch. The thin shape behind Varen stretches upward like a shadow remembering it once had bones. You're going straight for it. Blades first. Good. Malvor's debt collectors don't negotiate, they tally. But before steel meets whatever that is, we need your roll. You roll for Simon. I'll handle everything else once the dice hit the table. Give me Simon's attack roll with one of his scimitars, and if he's making both attacks, roll them separately. As soon as you give me the numbers, the scene continues instantly. Hit, miss, damage, reaction from the shadow thing, all of it.
Okay. So let's go down here to scimitar number 1. I need to change my dice. 22. First attack is a 22. And the second attack is 18.
Both blades hit. Not graze, not barely clip, not nick the edge. These swings sink in like Simon just carved through wet parchment stretched over something that shouldn't exist. Here's what happens. The hit. The moment the 22 connects, Simon's scimitar passes clean through the stretched, matchstick thin silhouette behind Varen, and the thing reacts like a shadow being torn off the wall. The apothecary lights gutter. Every glass jar rattles. The shadow shape jerks, distorts, and emits a sound that isn't a scream, but the absence of a scream. Like every voice in the shop inhales all at once. You feel the temperature drop so fast your breath hits the air in white puffs. Second strike, 18, lands 2. This one bites deeper. Simon's blade shears off a portion of the shadow, and the severed piece writhes on the floor like spilled ink trying to crawl back to its owner. Varen stumbles forward, gasping, clutching his half-gold chest. The golden eye flickers violently. The creature reveals itself. The thin shape peels away from Varen fully now, like it was wearing him as a coat. It unfolds. Too tall, too narrow. Limbs like abacus rods. Joints that slide like beads. Its face is nothing. Just a blank oval of polished bone with a vertical slit down the center, like a coin waiting to be minted. You just wounded a pre-collector. A debt retriever formed from the remnants of the golden ledger you destroyed last episode. It should not be able to exist without the collector's core. But Malvor apparently isn't hamstrung by should. The pre-collector stabilizes, steadies itself, and that slit face opens just enough to release a whispering hiss. Debtor interference detected. It raises its long, bead-jointed arm. Every gold mote in the air drifts toward its hand, coalescing into a razor-thin ribbon of molten gold. Recalibration begins. It's about to strike. Before it does, tell me if Simon uses a defensive reaction, a spell, or if he's preparing to dodge, block, or tank it head-on. No rolls yet, just his immediate intention.
Simon is intending on taking it head on with his scimitars. Do I need to roll for damage for the last two attacks?
Yeah, hit it. I need those damage rolls so I can lock in how badly you hurt this thing before it counterattacks. Give me damage roll for attack 1, damage roll for attack 2. Use your usual scimitar damage. Once I have those numbers, the pre-collector's retaliation lands immediately, and it's going to hit like a bag of gold bars dropped from a cathedral balcony.
Both damage rolls were 9s.
Two clean 9s. Beautiful, brutal symmetry. What that damage does. 18 total slashes into a creature made of shadow-thin debt and molten gold marrow is not nothing. Your blades cut through its form like you're slicing up the bookkeeping of an angry god. Where your scimitars tore it, the pre-collector leaks gold like a cracked hourglass. Each droplet falls upward instead of down, drifting toward the rafters before dissolving into glitter. The thing jitters, its limbs shuddering along invisible rods. You hurt it. Badly, but not fatally. These creatures don't die, they unbalance, miscount, and collapse. Right now, it's furious in the only way something mathematical can be. The counterattack. The pre-collector finishes forming that ribbon of molten gold in its hand. It flicks its wrist. The ribbon lashes out like a whip made of liquid metal heated to the color of a dying star. No spell, no trick. This is a raw execution strike. Shuts. And you said Simon is taking it head on. Good. Because this thing doesn't hit flesh. It hits the concept of debt attached to the flesh. It swings. The ribbon snaps through the air with a sound like a coin dropped onto marble. It aims directly for Simon's torso center mass. I need Simon's con saving throw. Not to avoid it entirely. The strike is happening no matter what. But to determine whether it scorches his body or it scorches his name. And the second one is much worse. Give me the roll.
Constitution saving throw. $17. Simon's con roll was a 17.
$17 is solid. Not heroic, not legendary, but enough. Enough to keep the hit from digging into the part of Simon that Malvor actually wants. Here's what that looks like. The hit lands. The molten gold ribbon lashes across Simon's torso. It doesn't cut skin, it doesn't burn armor, it burns being. For a split second, Simon feels something try to peel off him. Not flesh, not soul, but the thin thread of fate where his name is written. Something tries to tally him, to reduce him to a line item. The Ka ends, save holds. Simon's body tenses, everything in him locking down like a vault door. The ribbon fails to bite all the way through. Instead of stripping meaning off his bones, it leaves a blazing mark across his armor that smolders with gold along the edges. The pre-collector recoils. Its voice fractures into three overlapping registers. Assessment, error. Debtor profile, resistant. Dern spits on the floor. Damn right he's resistant, you bony bastard. The creature's slit face twists, almost like annoyance. More gold dust pulls toward its arms. It is charging another attack. But the moment of pain, the moment where your roll held the line, gives Simon a precious heartbeat to act. The shop around you trembles. Vials shake. The lantern's ember finally gutters out. The only light now is the gold burning from the creature's body and the faint glow lingering on Simon's armor. You have initiative. Simon can press the attack, 2 scimitar strikes again, cast a spell, try to disrupt the creature's form, arcana or raw force, grab Varen and retreat. Something more creative? Just tell me Simon's next move and we roll from there.
Let's take a quick look at my spells. Chill touch, firebolt. I wonder if Toll of the Dead would do any good on it. I'm just gonna go on with scimitars again. Simon will press the attack and make 2 more scimitar attacks.
Hell yes. Steel on Shadow, round 2. Before Simon carves this thing into overdue paperwork, I need the numbers. Give me both attack rolls for the new pair of scimitar strikes. Same deal as before. Roll attack 1, roll attack 2. Once I have them, we'll see if Simon cuts this abacus ghoul down to its last damn bead.
Simon's rolls were a 15 and a 16.
Both swings land. Barely. The pre-collector jerks its limbs in a last-second attempt to misalign its body like a broken marionette, but Simon's blades track true. You cut through a distortion of shadow and math, not muscle or bone, but whatever passes for its body feels it. Now I need the damage. Roll damage for both hits and tell me each result separately. This thing is starting to collapse under its own bad accounting, and these next cuts might break its ledger spine.
8 and 4. Damage rolls were an 8 and a 4.
"12 total. That's the magic number. Not mathematically, but narratively. Because those 2 hits don't just wound the pre-collector, they destabilize its entire ledger form. Here's what happens. The final strikes. First hit 8 damage. Simon's scimitar cleaves through the creature's elongated arm. Instead of cutting flesh, the blade slices through numbers. Tiny golden digits spill out like sparks, dissolving into the air. The arm spasms, dropping several beads that rattle across the floor like teeth. The creature shudders, its voice fracturing. Miscount, miscount, recalibration required. Second hit, 4 damage. This blow hits center mass, right across the vertical slit of its faceless visage. The scimitar tears the slit wider, and for the first time you see what's inside. Rows of tiny spinning wheels, like the inner parts of a clock, all made of gold and bone, each turning to track a life's worth of debt. Your blade jams into the mechanism. Everything seizes. The creature stiffens, limbs lock. Its whole form becomes a freeze frame of golden dust and broken geometry. And then, the collapse. It doesn't fall, it unravels. Its body folds inward, every limb compressing like someone is feeding it back into an invisible slot. Beads clatter across the floor. Gold dust erupts upward in a column, then shreds apart. The pre-collector whispers one last garbled phrase, voice stuttering like a dying ledger. Debtor, pending, escalation. And then it snaps out of existence. A final coin-sized disc drops to the floor where it stood, still warm, still glowing faintly. Varen collapses onto his knees, gasping, the gold creeping up his body, flickering like a dying candle flame. Dern exhales hard. Tell me that was the only one. The silence that follows does not feel like yes. The warm disc on the floor begins to hum. A soft, rhythmic pulse. Almost like a heartbeat. Almost like it's calling someone, someone higher ranking. Episode 9 just escalated. What does Simon do?
First off, is Simon still level 4? Simon will strike at the humming disc on the floor, trying to destroy it.
Simon going for the disc is exactly the right instinct, because that thing is basically an arcane 911 call to the patron's upper management. But to smash it, I need the roll. Simon must make an attack roll with his scimitar against the disc. Yes, it's a simple object, but it's magically reinforced and resisting destruction. Give me one attack roll with a scimitar, the damage roll if it hits some pole. After that, I'll tell you exactly what happens, and whether you destroy it or trigger something much worse.
Simon's attack roll was a 16. Does that hit?
Yeah, 16 hits the little bastard. That disc isn't armored, it isn't dodging, but it is a magically reinforced fragment of a divine ledger, so it needed more than a lazy swing. A 16 clears the threshold cleanly. Now I need the damage roll for that scimitar strike. Once I have that, I'll tell you exactly how the disc reacts or explodes or calls something unfriendly, depending on how hard you hit it.
The damage roll was 7.
7 points is enough to break it, but not cleanly. Here's what happens. Hasha impact. Simon brings the scimitar down on the disc. It doesn't behave like metal. It behaves like accounting given physical form. The blade strikes the surface and the disc rings. Not like metal, but like a struck coin magnified 100-fold. The shelves shake. A few jars fall and burst. A crack spider webs across its face, glowing bright gold for a heartbeat. Then the disc reacts. Not with an explosion, not with a spell, with a ledger event. The disc breaks. The disc splinters into 6 fragments that hover in the air for a moment, each spinning like a tiny gear. You hear a faint voice, mechanical, cold. Entry deleted. Another voice overlaps. Transferee unresolved. The fragments begin to dissolve into glittering gold dust. For one glorious second, Simon thinks he just prevented escalation. Then the final whisper rolls through the room, quiet but heavy as a tombstone lowering into place. Escalation transferred. The last piece dissolves. Immediate aftermath. The disc is destroyed. The distress call, not exactly stopped. The targeting shifted. Varen stumbles, gripping the counter, the gold creeping up his body, flickering again. What did you do, Simon? What does it mean, transferred? Dern looks at the empty spot on the floor. Boss, that sounded like it passed the dead again. There's a pressure in the air now. Not a presence. Not yet. But something knows Simon interfered. Again. A cold certainty settles in. Malvor now escalates. The focus of the escalation has shifted, and none of you know to whom. The shop goes still. Your next action decides where episode 9 turns next. What does Simon do?
Simon gives Varen a healing potion to see if that will help him.
Simon moves fast because whatever just rippled through the air feels like a countdown starting. He grabs a healing potion from his belt, pops the cork with his thumb, and presses it into Varen's trembling hands. Varen's half gold fingers can barely bend, so Simon steadies him and tips the potion to his lips. What happens when he drinks it? The potion glows as it goes down. For a second, it looks like it's working. Color returns to Varen's normal skin. His breathing evens, the trembling slows, but then you see the problem. The magic hits the gold corrupted half of his body and fizzles like water tossed onto a forge. You hear a tiny metallic hiss. Varen gasps, clutching his side. I I feel better, but the gold, it's still spreading. And you see it clearly now. Healing magic works on the flesh, but not on the dead. The corruption is not physical, it's metaphysical bookkeeping. His golden eye flickers. So the potion bought him strength. It did not buy him time. He looks up at Simon, breathing hard. Simon, it's in me. Malvor's tally. If we don't sever it, I'll be collected. I can feel something watching. Dern glances at the window. Boss, shadows outside just moved, and I don't think it's the wind. A faint scraping sound passes along the doorframe, like a fingertip made of bone dragging slowly across wood. The shop feels smaller, tighter. The golden veins on Varen's neck pulse like a lighthouse beacon calling predators. Whatever responded to that escalation transferred whisper is here. Simon has seconds, not minutes. You choose Simon's next move. Prepare for combat, try to grab Varen and escape. Use magic, try to sever the corruption, arcana check. Confront whatever is outside. Something creative and reckless, Simon's specialty. Whatever he does, it will shape the whole middle act of episode 9.
Let me see if I can't get back to my character sheet. Okay. Do I want to sever the corruption? Simon will grab Varen and attempt to sever the corruption.
Simon makes the boldest move possible. He grabs Varen, hauls him upright, and decides to cut the corruption itself. Not the gold, not the flesh, the tether, the mark Malvor burned into him. This is dangerous. This is exactly the sort of thing that gets Eldritch Knights on divine hit lists. But it's the only way Varen survives the night. Varen's breathing is fast and shallow as Simon drags him toward the center of the room. The gold veining pulses under his skin like molten circuits. Dern steps back. Boss, you sure? Because this looks like the kind of shit wizards call a bad idea before they die. Too late for caution. Simon places a hand on the corruption itself. The golden brand beneath the skin burns hot. The moment Simon touches it, he hears a distorted whisper. Debtor, reassigned. Gold dust rises from Varen's shoulders like smoke. The corruption is trying to anchor. Simon is trying to cut. This needs pure eldritch precision. Not muscle, not steel. You must roll an Arcana check. This is the biggest roll of episode 9 so far. Here's what the results will mean. Success. Simon's severs the metaphysical debt line. Varen lives, the collector escalations fumble, and Simon becomes an unresolved anomaly in Malvor's ledger. Failure. The corruption reacts violently. It either jumps hosts or it pulls something through the crack in Varen's soul. Give me the roll. Simon's Arcana check. The entire next scene hangs on the number you give me.
Arcana plus 9. 24. The Arcana check was a 24.
"24, not just success. Domination. Simon doesn't just sever the corruption. He reaches into a place mortals aren't meant to touch and cuts Malvor's tether at the root. Here's what it looks like. Severing the debt. The moment Simon presses his palm against Varen's burning golden sigil, the shop goes dead silent. Not quiet, absent, like every sound in the world is holding its breath. Gold veins on Varen's face flare white hot. A blast of golden dust erupts upward, swirling around both of them like a miniature solar flare. The brand beneath Varen's skin begins to peel away, not physically, but symbolically, as if Simon is prying loose the idea of a debt. Simon's eldritch power surges. Black and silver arcane veins crawl up his forearms. His eyes flicker with cold blue light. The tether fights. A voice tears through Simon's mind. Debtor interference requires escalation. Simon pushes harder. The tether begins to fray, thin strands of glowing gold snapping one by one. Each snap echoes like a coin being cracked. Varen screams as the corruption tries to lash onto anyone nearby. It reaches toward Simon. Simon resists. The Arcana roll holds. It reaches toward Dern. Dern staggers back, yelling, "Nope, nope, nope!" Finally, the tether begins to collapse. Simon pushes a final surge of will into the mark. A blinding crack fills the shop. The sigil shatters, bursting into gold ash. And then, silence. The aftermath. Varen collapses against Simon, breathing hard. His gold-veined skin is fading, normal flesh returning. The golden eye dims, returning to its natural color. "It's gone," Varen whispers, trembling. "I can't feel it anymore." But the victory has teeth. Every single gold mote in the air falls straight down, hitting the ground at the same time with a soft metallic chime. Then a new whisper fills the shop. Not from Varen, not from Simon, from all around. A whisper that's deeper, older, unimpressed, anomaly registered. A beat, escalation, approved. Something outside moves, heavy, deliberate, not a pre-collector, something higher in the hierarchy, something that doesn't knock. Varen looks terrified. Dern draws both blades, the floorboards tremble. Episode 9 is about to throw its first major boss at you. What does Simon do?
Simon will prepare his scimitars to attack whatever is getting ready to come in.
Simon plants his feet. Both scimitars come up in that perfect crossguard stance he's honed in back alley fights, crypt corridors, and nightmares that smelled a lot like this moment. Dern mutters, "Boss, this feels like we're about to get audited by a god." But he steps to Simon's flank anyway, blades ready. Varen crawls behind the counter, clutching his ribs, whispering frantic prayers to any deity who isn't made of gold. The scraping outside stops. Not paused, stopped. Like whatever is out there has decided it no longer needs to announce itself. The apothecary door, which had been cracked open, slowly begins to fill with darkness. Not darkness like shadow, darkness like ink poured into water. The wood groans. Not from something pushing it, from pressure on reality. Then the doorframe bulges outward like leather stretched over something enormous, something trying to pass through a space too small for what it is. The lantern's ember reignites for no reason at all, just long enough to cast a shadow on the wall. A massive one. Broad shoulders, long, hanging arms. A face like a featureless oval with multiple slits instead of one. Dern's voice cracks. That ain't a collector, he's right. Collectors retrieve debts. Pre-collectors tally them. This is a reclaimer. Malvor sends them only when a debt is forcibly severed. The door suddenly snaps inward as if hit by a titanic hammer. Splinters fly like arrows. The frame tears cleanly in half. A cold, low voice rolls into the room, vibrating in Simon's spine. Debt voided. Consequence required. The reclaimer steps in, 7 feet tall, limbs too long, body a shifting blend of gold, bone, and shadow. Its hands end in hooked fingers that look like quills and sickles fused together. Its face is a smooth disc split into 3 vertical openings, each one twitching like a ticking clock. The temperature plummets. Frost blooms across every glass jar in the shop. The creature leans slightly, head cocked at Simon. Debtbreaker. A title, not an insult. It lifts one massive arm. The room starts bending around it like it's warping space itself. Then it speaks again. You will be reclaimed. And that's when Simon lunges. Roll initiative. You roll for Simon. I'll roll for the reclaimer and Dern when you give me Simon's number. This is the episode 9 boss fight.
$14. Should have 14.
Simon rolls a 14. Let's slot everyone in. I'll roll the others on my side of the screen. Initiative results. Simon 14. Dern rolled a 12. The reclaimer rolled a 17. Yeah, it's fast. Not physically fast, causally fast. It moves the way a debt comes due, suddenly and without negotiation. Initiative Order 1. The reclaimer. 2. Simon 14. 3. Dern 12. Varen is out of combat unless something yanks him back in. Sned. Round 1 begins. The reclaimer's 3-slit face contracts inward like a fist clenching. Golden mist pours from its arms as the hooked fingers extend. It isn't going for Dern. It isn't going for Varen. It goes straight for Simon. The reclaimer's first action. Reclaiming strike. This isn't a normal attack. This is an attempt to pull Simon's identity into its ledger frame. It swings its arm in a massive scything arc at Simon's chest. Simon must make a wisdom saving throw. This save determines whether he resists the reclaimer's existential pull or a part of his record is forcibly extracted, weakening him in a very real mechanical way. Roll it. Give me Simon's whiz save.
Oh, Lord. Let's save a 5.
Five. That's the number that turns a bad situation into a nightmare. Here's what that failure means, and buckle up, because this is the kind of hit you feel in the back of your skull. The reclaimer's strike lands. The creature's arm swings through the air, but it doesn't hit Simon's armor. It doesn't hit his flesh. It passes through him like a blade through smoke. And every candle in the shop goes out. Simon's breath stops for half a second as something cold and enormous brushes the inside of his skull. Fingers made of arithmetic and ancient debt pulling at the threads that make him him. The reclaimer's voice rolls through the room like a vault door slamming. Record acquired. A blast of gold erupts from Simon's back, ripped out of him and dragged into the reclaimer's palm. Not blood, not soul. A ledger mark shaped like Simon's name. The creature crushes it, and Simon feels the consequences instantly. Mechanical effect of the failed save, Simon suffers cognition shear. A reclaimer hit that steals a piece of record. He takes 10 psychic damage, disadvantage on his next attack roll because part of his identity, his mental ledger, just got yanked like a page from a book. He isn't stunned, but he staggers like someone dropped an anvil on his consciousness. Dern shouts, "Simon, stay with me." The reclaimer straightens, its three-slit face vibrating with a low hum. Debtbreaker, you are not yet tallied. It prepares to strike again next round. But now, it's Simon's turn. He's hurt, mentally rattled, but still on his feet, still holding both scimitars, still ready to carve up this gold-boned monstrosity. You decide. On Simon's turn, what does he do? Strike with his scimitars, with disadvantage on the first attack. Cast a spell, use a maneuver or trick. Try to disrupt the reclaimer magically. Arcana. Attempt something wild and reckless. Always valid. Tell me his action.
Alright, so I'm going to take 10 damage. And disadvantage on the next attack roll. Simon will attempt to disrupt the reclaimer magically.
Simon steadies himself, breath ragged, brain still echoing from the psychic gut punch the reclaimer delivered. The gold-boned monster looms over him, its three-slit face vibrating like a tuning fork struck by a god with bad intentions. Simon chooses the one path the reclaimer isn't built for. He goes after its metaphysics. Not its body, not its armor, not its hit points, its ledger logic. The thing is a construct of debt, hierarchy, and divine arithmetic. And that means its entire existence is a spell written in gold. Simon takes one step forward. His scimitars lower. His free hand comes up. The air around his palm ripples like disturbed water. Dern whispers, "Boss, you sure poking the damn bookkeeping is a good..." Too late. Simon's already channeling Eldritch Force directly into the error you carved in its form last round. To disrupt a reclaimer, he must do one thing. Break its accounting. That means an Arcana check. But this one's different. DC increases dramatically because you're attacking its core logic. DC 18 Arcana. On success, you create a metaphysical glitch in its ledger form. That will strip its advantage, reduce its damage, and maybe force a cascading error, depends on margin of success. On failure, the reclaimer counters the attempt and deals immediate reactive psychic damage by correcting Simon's interference. But the choice is made. Simon is reaching inside the thing's divine algebra. So roll it. Give me Simon's Arcana check. This is one of the biggest rolls of episode 9 and could turn this boss fight on its axis.
Arcana plus 9, let's go. 25. Simon rolled a 25.
25. You didn't just beat the DC, you shattered it. You broke the curve so hard the curve needs therapy. That's not success. That's a catastrophic success. The sort that makes ancient entities pause mid omen and go, wait, what? Here's what it looks like. Sack, Simon breaks the Reclaimer's ledger logic. Simon's hand glows with that cold, silver blue eldritch night light. Not fire, not lightning. Interference. A spell made of doubt and defiance. He reaches into the space between the Reclaimer's ribs, not touching its body, but the conceptual scaffolding inside it. The divine accounting rules that hold it together. The Reclaimer shudders. Every golden line in its body flickers like damaged circuitry. Its three slit face ripples. Not physically, symbolically, like someone scribbled wrong numbers across it. Simon pushes harder. The shop itself bends inward, bottles rattling, frost crawling across every surface. The Reclaimer's voice fractures. Error, undefined expression, Deathbreaker, invalid. Then Simon hits it with the kill shot of pure arcane disruption. He speaks one word, not in common but in the raw syntax of magic itself, no. The effect is instantaneous. The critical effect of a 25, Simon's disruption does all of the following. 1. The Reclaimer loses its damage bonus. Its reclaiming strikes can no longer siphon record or crush identity. 2. The Reclaimer becomes unstable. It flickers, digits and symbols pouring off its limbs like melting numbers. 3. The Reclaimer takes 2d10 psychic damage from its own collapsing metaphysical structure. Rolling that for you, it takes 14 psychic damage. A deep crack ripples down its chest, splitting one of its golden ribs. It staggers. 4. It gains disadvantage on its next attack. 5. Dern sees an opening. He gets advantage on his next strike. Mushtar 6. The Reclaimer's escalation protocol fails. You literally broke its ability to call for reinforcements. In other words, you just turned the boss fight around with one check. The Reclaimer braces itself, limbs twitching like corrupted abacus rods. Its voice grinds out, warped and glitching. Deathbreaker. You corrupt the record. Unacceptable. It raises both arms for a distorted counterstrike. But for the first time since it entered the room, it looks uncertain. Simon's turn ends. Now Dern's turn, and he's got advantage, a pissed off attitude, and a clear shot. But before I roll for him, do you want Dern to A, go for a full attack with both blades, B, try a grapple to restrain the Reclaimer, C, use an improvised move, like knocking shelves, throwing bottles, etc., D, withdraw to protect Varen instead? Your call decides how Dern plays this moment.
I want Dern to attack with both blades.
Dern cracks his neck like a man about to make a terrible decision on purpose. All right, Ledger Boy, he growls, stepping in. Let's see how you like real math. He attacks with both blades. And because of Simon's arcane disruption, Dern gets advantage on his first strike. Let me roll these out loud for you. Dern's attack rolls. Attack 1 with advantage. Rolls 14 and 19, 19 hits. Attack 2, normal roll. Roll 16, 16 hits as well. Dern hits twice. This is the most damage he's done to anything this arc, so he's feeling himself right now. Dern's damage rolling both strikes. First blade, 7 slashing. Second blade, 5 slashing. Total, 12 damage. What that does to the Reclaimer. Simon's metaphysical disruption destabilized the creature. Dern's blades? They take advantage of the chaos. Dern hacks into the Reclaimer's torso. Not into flesh, into its accounting structure. Each hit rips free strips of golden script, torn fragments of numbers and names fluttering like burning paper. The Reclaimer jerks backward, its limbs spasming as if its internal tally is suddenly out of alignment. Its voice stutters. Recurrency, invalid precision, access denied. A deep fracture cracks across its faceless mask, splitting one of the 3 slits almost in half. Dern roars, "Come on, you bookkeeping freak!" The Reclaimer slams one massive foot down, stabilizing itself, and every jar in the shop bursts from the shockwave. Frost flies in all directions. Then it straightens and speaks through a broken voice box of shifting gold digits. Round 2. Start of Reclaimer's next turn. Because of Simon's disruption, this attack is coming in with disadvantage. It raises its hooked quill-like arm for a double tally strike aimed at Simon. This one hits both body and soul if it lands. Rolling. Attack roll with disadvantage. Rolls 17 and 9. It takes the 9. Plus modifier, total comes to 14. Does 14 hit Simon's AC of 15? No. For the first time, the Reclaimer misses. It swings through the air, expecting Simon's record to shift instinctively toward its blade. Instead, Simon's severed ledger line refuses to move. The Reclaimer stumbles, just a half step, but enough to show weakness. It hisses, anomaly persists. Simon has survived the opening onslaught. Now, Hatch gets Simon's turn again. You tell me, does he A, attack with both scimitars, B, cast a spell, C, continue disrupting its ledger form, Arcana again, D, try something clever or reckless? Simon has momentum. Your move.
Simon will attempt to continue disrupting it.
Simon goes right back into the monster's code, refusing to play the Reclaimer's game of blades and bones. He's seen its weakness. He's felt the fracture in its logic. And now he's going to pry that crack open until the whole divine machine collapses. Dern actually freezes for half a breath, watching Simon raise his hand again. Boss, you're gonna undo the damn universe at this rate. The Reclaimer feels it too. Its three-slit face twitches. Golden digits flake from its arms like shedding skin. It roars, not in anger, but in defensive protocol panic. Stop. Interference. Simon does not stop. Disrupting the Reclaimer's ledger. Round 2. This one is harder. You already crippled its metaphysics once. Doing it again while it actively defends itself is like reaching inside a collapsing cathedral scaffolding and trying to snap the beams in the right order. This is the kind of arcane manipulation wizards go blind attempting. But Simon's not a wizard. He's a problem with knives. DC is higher this time. DC 20 Arcana. On success, you cause a catastrophic ledger failure. This can force the Reclaimer into a staggered state, block its reactions, drop its AC, and deal massive psychic backlash, possible 4d10 damage depending on margin. On failure, it counter-disrupts you. Simon takes psychic damage and loses his next reaction. But Simon is going for it anyway, because he's already in the monster's wiring and he smells opportunity. The energy gathers in Simon's hand again, the silver-blue ripple that distorts the air like a heat mirage. The Reclaimer braces, hooked fingers spreading, defensive protocols flaring. Debt breaker. You do not have permission to alter ledger state. Simon does not need permission. Roll it. Give me Simon's Arcana check. This is the biggest roll so far. This one can literally break the Reclaimer's operating system wide open.
19, damn it. Simon rolled a 19 Arcana.
$19. 1 point short of the DC. But in Magic, this weird, this jagged, this cosmic accounting gone wrong, a near miss isn't just a failure. It's a feedback loop. Not enough control to break the Reclaimer. More than enough force to piss it off and blow a fuse in both of you. Here's what happens. Simon's disruption misfires. Simon reaches into the glowing crack in the Reclaimer's ledger form. The silver-blue eldritch ripple spreads outward, wrapping around the monster's ribs like spectral wire. The Reclaimer screams, not in pain, but in a corrupted error tone. Error. Error. OV3R1 detect. For one bright, vicious second, Simon sees the thing's true inner architecture. Rows and rows of gold-red tally marks. Names, dates, deaths, and something terrible. Simon's name is missing. Not crossed out, not erased. Missing. A blank line. A gap in the divine math. Simon is an anomaly in Malvor's book now. The Reclaimer hates that. The disruption goes unstable. The eldritch power in Simon's hand flares. Too wide, too much, like trying to thread a needle with a lightning bolt. The Reclaimer's chest snaps shut. A shockwave pulses out from its ribcage. Mechanical result of the failed DC-20. Simon takes 8 psychic damage. A spike of golden pain slams through his skull. He tastes copper. His vision splits for half a second. Arr! Simon also loses his next reaction. His nerves are scrambled. His arcane synapses misfired. But it wasn't a total failure. Simon still destabilized the creature's form in the attempt. The Reclaimer suffers a partial glitch. The Reclaimer has -2 AC until the end of Simon's next turn. It staggers, its 3-slit face splitting further, gold digits spilling out like sparks. Dern sees it faltering. Boss! You rattled it! It's wide open! The Reclaimer regains its balance, arms trembling like overloaded machinery. Its voice becomes a broken choir. You will be rebalanced. And now, it's the Reclaimer's turn again. But because Simon destabilized it, even with the miss, the Reclaimer's first attack this round is normal. No advantage, and its AC is lower. The towering construct raises its hooked arms for a brutal double tally strike aimed at Simon's chest and face. Rolling, the Reclaimer's attack roll. Roll, 13 plus modifier brings it to 18. Simon's AC is 15. It hits. And because Simon disrupted it earlier, the blow isn't the full identity-stealing nightmare, but it still hurts. Simon takes 9 slashing/psychic blend damage. The hook rakes across his armor and through the edges of his mind, leaving a burning line of gold across his thoughts. The Reclaimer looms over him, cracked, glitching, furious. Finalization imminent. Now, it's Simon's turn. The thing's AC is lowered. It is unstable. It is angry. It is killable. What does Simon do? Attack with scimitars. Good time for it. Cast a spell. Another Arcana strike. High risk, high reward. Something reckless. Your call.
Simon will put everything he can into 2 more scimitar strikes.
Simon wipes the blood from his lip with the back of his hand. His skull feels like someone dropped a cathedral bell inside it, but he plants his feet anyway. He doesn't posture. He doesn't shout. He just lifts both scimitars. And the Reclaimer, this 7-foot gold bone nightmare, actually hesitates. Simon goes in for the kill. I need the numbers, boss. Roll both scimitar attacks. Attack 1, d20 plus Simon's attack bonus. Attack 2, d20 plus attack bonus. Remember, the Reclaimer's AC is currently lowered by 2 because of Simon's earlier metaphysical disruption. This is the perfect moment to carve that thing into divine scrap metal. Give me both attack rolls.
$25, $22. Simon rolled a 25 and a 22.
Two hits. Not just hits, obliterations. A 25 and a 22, both boosted by the Reclaimer's reduced AC, means Simon might as well be carving his initials into the books of heaven. This thing is done if the damage lands hard. Now I need the most important numbers of the fight. Roll damage for each scimitar separately. Give me damage for attack 1, damage for attack 2. This is the moment Simon either A, dismantles a divine dead enforcer in a shower of gold shards, or B, wounds it so badly that its final attack becomes a death blow desperation move. Either way, this is the finish line of the round. Give me the damage.
6 and 9. Simon rolled a 6 and a 9 for damage.
Hash Shash, Simon's blades finish the job 12, 15, 15 total. That's the number that breaks the Reclaimer's spine, metaphorically and almost literally. Here's how it ends. The first strike, 6 damage. Simon drives the first scimitar into the crack he created with his arcane disruption. The blade slides between two ribs made of solidified divine ledger logic. The Reclaimer jerks, a full body spasm, as golden digits spray from the wound like sparks from a grinding wheel. Its 3-slit face distorts, slits widening in glitching horror. Debtbreaker, you. It never finishes the sentence. Because the second blow is already coming. Hash the second strike, 9 damage. Simon steps in, pivots, and brings the other scimitar up in a clean, merciless arc. This cut is deeper, truer. The kind of finishing strike you only land when the universe turns its head and pretends not to see. The scimitar tears across the monster's chest, and the Reclaimer splits open. Not like flesh, not like metal, like a ledger ripping down the spine. A gash opens, spilling glowing golden script into the air. Names, dates, debt tallies, all unbound. The creature staggers back, limbs twitching in 4 different directions as if its gravity is failing. Its voice fractures into 100 overlapping tones. Record, corrupted, ledger state, unstable, reclamation, failure. Then it says one last phrase, spoken not as a threat, but as a cosmic realization. You have no number. And then the Reclaimer collapses. Its entire form collapses inward, folding like paper, returning to a single impossible point. Gold dust explodes outward in a shockwave that blows every bottle, shelf, and herb in the apothecary sideways. The creature shrinks into a single grain of gold. Then that grain winks out. No body, no trace, no reformation. The Reclaimer has been erased from Malvor's ledger entirely. Simon did that. Hash the aftermath. The shop is trashed. Varen is staring in awe and terror. Dern leans on one blade, panting. Boss, we're still alive, right? Because it feels like we're supposed to be dead. Varen looks at Simon, wide-eyed and shaking. Simon, Malvor will not forget this. You severed a debt. Then you erased a Reclaimer. There is no protocol for this. You've broken something. The gold dust slowly settles. A final whisper brushes the back of Simon's mind. Soft, cold, not gone. Anomaly, acknowledged. Then silence. Pure, suffocating silence. Episode 9. End of combat. You stand victorious. Barely, breakingly, but victorious. We move to the next scene when you're ready. Tell me what Simon does next, and we'll continue episode 9, The Collector's Debt, right into its second act.
Oops. That will do it for tonight's session. I'll be back to play more later. Thank you.
Rest well, Deke. Simon survived debt magic, divine accounting, a Reclaimer, and the kind of psychic hit that should have shelved him permanently. The next time you step back into this world, the fallout from what he just did is going to echo far beyond one apothecary shop. I'll be here when you're ready to dive back in. Sleep easy. You earned it.
Okay, so that's gonna do it for tonight. How long have we been going here? A little bit over an hour. So hopefully you enjoyed what you saw, and if you made it this far, please click like, and you may want to use the subscribe button because I don't know when I'm doing these solo games from time to time. So if you are subscribed, you won't miss a single match. So I hope everyone has a good evening. Goodbye.